Hey everyone, hey everyone. We are here. We are here. Let me tell y'all, I have an awesome. Let me tell y'all. Let me see. This will not reconnect. We about to reconnect this. Um, we were just talking about the technical difficulties. Okay,
Yeah.
we are going to get it done, and we got it done. It's more than one way to skin a cat, y'all.
Look, it is.
We got to get her done. We are live on. Let me make sure we are live on Facebook. I'm not seeing this on my page. Let me see. We're gonna get it together here. It says I'm alive, but I don't see it on my page. How about that? There we go. There we go. It's there. It's there. It's there. Let me
Yay.
get it so that you can share it out. I just changed it. So we are public, we are live, we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know I apologize that we have not been here for a while. I've been traveling for the summer, but we are back into grief recovery with
Yes.
Breaking the LLC. I have a special guest today, but I am just ecstatic about what's going on today. I'm ecstatic about my guest. But most of all, I've missed you all. I missed you all during my travels. But we are back. We're here every second and fourth Monday. We're Breaking the Mo LLC. I have some awesome news towards the end of this broadcast, but we're going to get in it. Let me introduce to you a firecracker here. She is, let me tell you, she has so many different things that is going on in her life. Um, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. How about that? Candy, will you introduce to the people who you are and what you're doing and all the good stuff? We're going to get into the topic of grief recovery.
Gladly. Hi, everyone. My name is Candi Usher. I am an author. I am a mom. I am a veteran. I am a soon to be graduating with her bachelor's in psychology in 8 more weeks. Soon to be psychologist, minister, evangelist, and just um lover of God. I love God. I love what he's doing. I love what he's done. I love the opportunity to be able to share different parts of me, and not just in ministry but of my life. I have been through some insanity in life, but God has brought me through. I am a mother who has lost a child. He only lived 10 weeks. So I wrote a book about it called My Forever Angel, and I discuss the situation that I went through. I just released a new book called Pretty Wings, which deals with my loss of my son and what happened after that. And the emotional and mental pain and trauma that I went through, and the thoughts of suicide and suicidal ideation and suicidal attempts that occurred after that, and just delving into what it looks like for Black women and mental health, especially during and after grief and loss and relationship. Grieving not just the losing of the child, but grieving the losing the relationship with my spouse. So, yep, that's me. That's everything about me.
All right, all right, all right. So, y'all, this is my sister Candy, y'all.
Yes.
She was one of the first ones that uh, decided to join me on my upcoming next episode of my podcast, right?
Yes.
We had a long conversation. I want to say it was a couple of weeks ago. And
Yes.
it was a phenomenal conversation, a very phenomenal conversation. And I was on vacation, y'all. But it's okay because I'm still working. When you're an entrepreneur, you still have to work, even sometimes on
Yeah.
vacation. But it was an amazing conversation. How we connected was through a mutual friend of ours.
Yes.
And she has an awesome platform, but she flies,
Yeah.
and she is
Yes.
amazing. Giasha Sample, she is amazing. We affectionately call her Gigi. Um,
Yes.
but
Madam Butterfly.
yes, yes, yes. But with Candy, she told me about her story of her son, right? I want to make sure I'm
Yes.
getting the
My
gender right,
son. Yes.
about her son, and just some of the things that happened leading up to his transition. I don't like to say death. I don't like to say,
Yeah.
um, you know, uh, other words, but I say transition because my thing is that he transitioned from one life to another.
Yes.
So that's the way I look at it. But I am thankful for everyone that came in tonight, that is
Yes.
joining us, watching us on replay. Share it out, because we're going
Yes.
to have a phenomenal conversation for the next hour. And I am back. I am back. I am back. But
Welcome back.
yes, but she has a book that that is called My Forever Angel, and this was a book that was dedicated in the premise of the transition of her son.
Yes.
And my question to you, Candy, is that what inspired you to write this book? Because I know that grief is a very vulnerable place,
Yes.
a very exposing place, if you
Yes.
will. Um, but what inspired you to share that story, that part of you, with different people, your audience, of who, what you went through? What inspired you to do that?
Actually, it started with Miss Gigi was my coach. Um, during my divorce. And she always pushed me to write what I felt. And so it started off just journaling, really. And then it was at the point where it was like, no, this needs to become more, because I had started connecting with different women on Instagram. There were several groups that I became a part of who have
Mm,
also been through some of the similar situation I did. They've lost their child due to medical neglect, because that's what happened to my son. I lost him due to medical neglect. And when I found my tribe, pretty much, um, it became a thing of our voices are not heard enough, especially when I really connected with other women who had it even deeper, like I did, where it was not just medical neglect, but it was medical neglect because of the military. And
mm,
so, like I said, as it became more and more layered, and I became deeper into the tribe, why are these things not talked about?
right, right.
Why are Black maternal and infant mortality rates so high?
Hmm.
Why do they not talk about and include the ones that happen to the women who serve this country,
Right.
to the wives of the men who serve this country? They're not counted. Why are we such an outlier when it comes to statistics? Why? So this book was not just to give a voice to losing my son, but to also say, hey, we need to bring attention to this group of women who do not have a voice, who are not included in statistics like they're supposed to be, who are not studied like they're supposed to be. Then I also wanted to give a voice to, just because you married, that doesn't mean you safe from everything. Because that was another layer of it, that you really have to be careful with who you're married to.
Right.
That's a different side. And that was another medical issue. You have to read the book to find out what the medical issue was. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a whole other layer on top of that. So even though I don't put that person's information out there, ladies, and just be careful, be careful. And
Mm-hmm.
the grief that not just you go through, and I also wanted to bring attention to the not just my grief, but the grief that my oldest son went through because he was there for it. He had to deal with that. He saw that. He had an attachment to his brother.
Mm.
So that was a whole other, you're trying to grieve and you're trying to get your child through grief.
So let me ask you this. When you're going through the process of grief, um what does that look like? What did that look like for you as the mother? And then what did that look like for you as the mother to a child that's dealing with grief?
As a mother, um, the first thing first was I ran to God. In the thought process of heal my son,
Hmm.
recognize when you ask God to heal, he doesn't always do things the way you think he should.
Correct.
So my son's healing was he had to go back to God. But that's not the way I saw it at that time. My thought process was one day I was going to walk in there and he was going to be fine
Hmm.
instead of walking in there and having to decide what happened with the rest of his life.
Mm.
Then grief became shutting down. When I got that phone call that said he was gone, I shut down completely. There are 2 weeks of my life I don't even remember. So when I say shut down, I mean I gave up. I let my now ex-husband, you do the funeral arrangements, you do this, and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's a part of what we have to as a part of, I know what I went through at, during my it's a continual grief. It's a continual journey. Grief is. However, we want to get to the point of where we go from grief to grace to glory.
Hmm.
We do not want to stay in the pit, that which is the acronym for pause and transition. We don't want to stay there.
Mhm.
But so my question would be more so of as you were praying to God and God was, you're praying to him, you're going through all of this, how are you still present for your son, your son that's at home?
Physically there,
Mm-hmm.
mentally and emotionally, not so much.
Mm.
Because at the same time, I'm going through, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for my son who is literally basically dying
Mm-hmm.
and still in a marriage. So I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with that end because he's not present in the way I even needed him to be.
Mm-hmm.
He pushed both of us out. Well, all of us actually, both kids and me. He shut everybody out.
Mm.
So I'm trying to be there for me, be there for them, be there for him, and still serve the this country.
Wow. Yeah,
So
you were in the military.
I was
Yeah.
active duty. So I'm in 15 different parts, but none of them feel like me.
Yeah.
Literally felt like a ghost walking around. And my son realized that.
Mm.
And he would hug me as much as he could. And I love you, mommy. But he's 6.
Mm.
So at 6, he can only recognize so much. He can only do so much.
Right. Yeah. 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 Because I know that I don't know about you, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit on this, but I know for myself, when I got the call, my situation was a lot different, a lot different. But I was in denial. I immediately that was one of the first stages I went into was denial. Um, Even though it slapped me in my face, it was
Yeah.
straight denial because, like you, I got a phone call.
Yeah.
And just to hear the voice over the phone, just to tell you that they had to pronounce your child at a certain time due to the fact that they weren't thriving anymore. They wasn't, their
Yeah.
activity wasn't going anymore. They weren't breathing. They may have
Yeah.
tried to. It wasn't in my case, but just to list some things, they may have tried to resuscitate them and different things like that. But it's to hear that
Yeah.
from you, it put me back into a place where when I got the call,
Yeah.
I remember vividly what I had on.
Yeah.
One, I
What
could
time it was?
what time it was,
Yeah.
remember what the temperature was,
Yep.
what
Location,
it looked
where
like
you were in the house. Yeah.
because I was outside when I got the call, and I remember just a scream that bounced off of every house that was in with a certain radius, to
Yeah.
get a call like that. But even to go back, I lost I had a child that transitioned back in 2014. She only lived for an hour. We were at separate hospitals. Um,
Mm.
Due to the way the hospital was set up here in Atlanta,
Uh-huh.
I had to go to a different hospital and to get a call 2 hours later that she transitioned,
You're gone. Yeah.
to know that my son was right there
Mm.
when all of this happened, when
Yeah.
everything transpired from the beginning, when I went into early labor, all of that stuff, he was right there. But
So
then
yours was a preterm labor too. Mine was too at 31 weeks.
I was 36. I was 36 weeks. She could have lived, but at the time I was in my 40s, high risk, had
Yeah.
toxemia, all kind of things. So it was a lot of different things
A lot
going
of factors.
on
Yeah.
at one time. But my thing was is that when my son transitioned, I took a trip down whole memory lane, all the way back to that point, even further,
Yeah.
but that point of where he was there when I had my daughter in his car on the way,
Mm.
when he had to go in there to get the paramedics and get the physicians and the nurses and stuff to come out because I'm holding my daughter in my hand, still connected to me. Um, so I'm thinking about all of this. So I look at it, whereas we had so much history together. We grew up together,
Yeah.
with your child, you know, it was a different type of history, if you
Yeah.
will. Um, and I don't want you to get into it because I want them to get your book called Forever. What My Forever
My
Angel.
forever angel. Yes.
Forever Angel, y'all. Get that book, and we're gonna put her website up as well so that y'all can get this book to hear her story because she has a phenomenal story and just a testament of what God is doing in her life. Even though I'm pretty sure at times you have that moment of anger, you have that moment of denial, you have that moment of bargaining. When we go through all these stages of different
Yeah.
parts of grief, even there's the shock of a call, say, you know what, wait, I thought my baby was doing well. You know what I'm saying? And now you're
And
calling.
see, for mine was a little different because we had to make a choice
Mm,
whether because he had failure to thrive.
mm,
So it was either bring him home and he would be in 24/7 care, put him in a home and he would be in 24/7 care. Both of them with the option of something as simple as a cold he would be gone.
Mm.
So his brother couldn't even be around him anyway or let him go.
So how did you, because you said dad wasn't really present, um, how did you make that decision? Because that's a strength that I don't know if many people will have in that moment.
It's a heart mind war,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Throughout my pregnancy, I didn't buy anything, which was strange for me because with my oldest, I bought everything.
Mm-hmm.
But with my son, my second son, it was just kind of like my mind already knew
Mm-hmm.
something was wrong, but my heart didn't want to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of us, especially for moms, it's a mind heart war.
Mm-hmm.
It's a battle. Your mind says my child is not here anymore, but your heart says, but maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a glimmer of hope. Maybe somebody got it wrong. Maybe they'll call back and say, no, we the wrong person, or no, his heart started because the doctor held my son until I couldn't do it. There
Right.
is no way my mental state would have allowed me to hold my child till it just would not.
Mm. Yeah.
So the doctor did until his heart stopped beating.
Mm.
And you expect or hope for that phone call. No, his heart started again. He's breathing on his own. You and it didn't come.
Mm.
There was a smoker at the time. And I literally went outside, sat on the back porch after that phone call, and I smoked a half a pack of cigarettes.
Jesus.
I did. I was just because I was so gone at that point. And my friend, she came from her house and she had also she's lost two.
Mm.
And God having her there, literally, like she and I to this day talk about her being there is what got me through a lot of it because she understood.
Yeah.
There are friends that I have that literally have been down that road. So they got it.
Mm.
When
Mm.
my ex-husband could not be a support, they were a support.
Yeah.
They were there. But when I say it's a mind heart war, it is literally an argument. I'm having a literal argument with myself, and my mind is like, no, you need to accept this. And my heart is like, I can't. This child grew under my heart. And
Mm.
then being told by my then husband, this is your fault.
Mm.
Understand when somebody is going through grief, even if you cannot relate to what they're going through,
Mhm.
your words, the simplest words, can destroy them. Even if you say this was God's will, understand not everybody's in that mindset to accept that right then.
Mhm.
They're not.
Yeah.
Be careful with, if you're grieving, it's hard to be careful with your words because that hurt is there so hard. All you want to do is lash out.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not that friend that can handle the lashing out, don't go near them. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I'm giving fair warning ahead of time. If you are not that person that can handle somebody snapping off on you when they're hurting, don't go near your friend who's grieving because the grieving friend will want to lash out. It's
Right.
not intentional. It's a defense let me break it down psychologically for you all. It is a psychological defense
Mm-hmm.
in their brain that says, I can't deal with it. I can't handle it. And I cannot go at God because
Yeah.
that would be wrong.
It will be. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I know on this show we're gonna talk about that a little later in another broadcast where it's grieving responsibly, because we as grievers we have to grieve responsibly. We
Yeah.
have to be very aware of where we are in our emotions. Um, and so, because we don't want to push away those that are connected to us, that are supporting us. Um, but sometimes we slip up,
Yeah.
we slip up,
Yeah.
and then too, we have to realize that sometimes we don't have, some people don't have the capacity to carry the burden or to deal with the burden that you're carrying. You know,
Emotional intelligence in grief
we have
are
to be
not synonymous. They
they're not
are not synonymous. They do not go together because your emotional intelligence at that point is, again, you're in an argument with yourself.
mm-hmm,
You're arguing, how do I deal with this? How do I let this out? And people are really quick. You need to go to therapy. I'm sorry, because the military told me that when I lost my son. You need to go to therapy. They have group on. If I'm struggling right now to handle this on my own, what makes you think I want to go sit here with another group, a group
right,
of people
right,
going through this? No, I don't want to look. I don't want to look at y'all,
yeah,
much
yeah.
less look at them.
Yeah,
My homegirls would
yeah, we
take
have to
me
be
out.
very, very, very careful.
You
Um,
have to be sensitive to people who are grieving,
yeah,
because if you're not that friend who can be sensitive to people who are going through something emotionally or mentally, also back up until they're to the point of where they're a little more open, they're a little more receptive. And
yeah,
you say the wrong thing,
yeah,
you might find out that that friend that you had might hurt your feelings just a little bit. Just
right,
a little bit. And
right,
then, why are you mad at me? She's not trying to be mad at you. He's not trying to be mad at you. They're hurting.
yeah,
And they're at a point in grief where they don't know how to outlet it proper. When I first went through, I didn't know how to outlet properly. It took me 15 years, 15, to
mm,
get to that point.
mm,
And that was figuring out through Miss Gigi, you need to write.
yeah,
Sit down, write it out, let it go that way. So you've been writing about everything else, write about that too.
yeah. Because
And
one of
writing,
the things I tell my clients, my coaching clients, is one of the things, because everybody is not a writer.
yes.
However, I say, okay, well, you're a talker, so why
Mhm.
not do a video, a voice recorder, and do
Yeah,
like a voice diary type
yeah. Do a video journal.
um,
Yeah, absolutely.
do a video journal. You can do the voice journal, you know,
Mhm.
but you have to
Create
get it
pictures.
out.
Get in Canva.
Yeah, you have to get it out.
Yeah,
Even if you use Facebook or Instagram or whatever to get it out, even if you
yeah.
do it on YouTube and do a
Mhm.
video, you could get it out. That doesn't mean that you have to publish it, but it's
Nope.
something that you can go back and see your growth, see your
Yeah,
growth through this journey. Because what we don't want is for you to stay in that pause and transition. We don't want you to stay right there at the time of the transition of that person, whether it was, even if it wasn't a person, if it was a transition of a relationship. Because
yeah,
you have a lot of people out here dealing with the ambiguous grief, you know
yeah,
or you're dealing with anticipatory grief where you're anticipating a divorce, you're
yeah,
anticipating a job loss, you're anticipating where someone is dealing with terminal illness. So you
yeah,
want to be able to journal all of that, even if you don't have the in your finite mind that you have the right words. No, journal it. It doesn't have to
yeah.
be, articulated very well at that moment, but you'll see your pattern of growth going through it, because what we want to do is we want to take you from the grief to grace to glory. We don't want you to stay paused in that
In that
transition.
place.
We don't
Yeah,
want you to stay in that pit because the pit is just a temporary resident. It was never a permanent place to stay in. So we want you to move through that. And a part of moving through that is having these conversations that I'm having with my sister Candy. Another part is dealing with, we have different resources, books. We have these different podcasts coming up,
Yeah.
dealing with different facets of grief, whether you lost a person, whether it was something tangible or something not, whatever you're going through, you don't have to stay there. Somebody has went through what you went through. And if you go out and you tell your story, you tell your testimony, you say, hey, look, this is where I am, this is where I'm dealing with. You'd be surprised of
Yeah.
who is going through the same thing or similar to what you're going through, and or they've been through it and say, you know what, this is what I've done. If I could come out on the other side, guess what, you could come out on the other side too. Because what we're not going to do is allow you to stay in a place where you cannot move forward. We don't want you to stay stagnant, paralyzed, and gripped in pain. That's what we
You
won't do.
you made me think of when you said that the Holy Spirit brought up Joseph. When Joseph was stuck in jail, it was for a reason to be there because he had to come across the baker and the cupbearer. So even though he's stuck in jail at the worst place you could be in Egypt, it was still a purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the grief fogs our glasses, our eyes so much that we can't see the purpose
Right.
that was behind it. Yes, God set that person free from this earth. First off,
Mm-hmm.
let's get that. We might not like it and it might hurt, but that person is free. My son doesn't hurt anymore. He doesn't have tubes stuck to him anymore. He can actually he has a voice now. He can
Mm-hmm.
move. So he's free from this earth. But on top of that, who else is set free from that story?
Right.
Who's able to face their pain, their issue? Because I had to grieve losing a child.
Mm-hmm.
14 years later, I had to grieve losing a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I had to grieve being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I had to grieve losing a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I had to grieve so much more after that.
Mm-hmm.
These past 2 years have been what I call grief recovery.
That's it.
They have been grief, but also with grief recovery comes letting go some of that anger.
Yeah.
Because I spent 14, and I will tell anybody this, I spent 14 years angry with my husband,
Yeah.
especially when we were going through our divorce. And at the end of it, I found out certain things. Got to read the book, find out what things I found out. But I know I found out some certain things, and where I was getting the blame for some things
Yeah.
were not my fault.
Yeah.
So you have to know how to also not just navigate the grief, but you got to be able to face the anger
Yeah.
that comes along with that grief and the people, because it's easy to, like for your son being in the car accident,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to be angry at the person who hit him.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to do that. It's hard to forgive that person.
But you know what?
Say, I absolve you.
On
You
the
are not responsible to me. You're responsible to God for, and that's a
you know what?
hard thing to do.
I did not have. It was easier for me to forgive the person that hit my son than for me to forgive my son.
Mm,
And it's a lot of backstory to that, but I'm not going to go through it. But it was easier. And I don't. That's not to say that it wasn't hard to forgive the person that, because I wanted someone to pay for what happened.
mm,
know, um, but it's more so even with the different stages of grief. You have, even though they always say the five, you actually we could break it down even to seven, um,
mhm.
because you're dealing with the shock, the betrayal. you're dealing with the anger, you're dealing with the denial, you're dealing with, the bargaining and the reasoning and all of that other stuff. You're dealing with so many different things at once that when you, and it's not one, sometimes it's not just one emotion at a time. It doesn't just,
Mhm.
not just dealing with, okay, I'm dealing with anger right now. It might be a mirage or mirage of emotions that you're dealing
Mhm.
with at one time, and it could be so overwhelming that you just lash out on everybody. That be like, you know what? Get out, everybody, get out my
Yes.
home. Blah,
Yes.
you know. So you could get to that point, but with dealing with and I'm not saying that anyone is greater or lesser because I've never lost a spouse. I have been
Mhm.
divorced, but I've never lost a spouse. But I know when you deal with someone that you have lost in your life and you bore them, that's a whole different type of pain.
Yeah.
That is a whole different type of pain where you have lost nights of sleep,
Yeah.
where you have went through hell and high water to make sure that they're staying on task and doing what they're
Yeah.
supposed to do because so that they could become a productive citizen and all of this
Yeah.
stuff in the world. And you have done so much, and then you like, wait a minute, and they just taken out just like that.
Yeah.
That
And it feels like it never came to fruition what you were looking for, or
mm-hmm,
what you poured into them, or that seed that you planted inside of them. You never got to see it happen. And it's frustrating.
it's frustrating, it's saddening. I mean, it's
And
like,
draining.
yeah, and I mean, my question, and I know that a lot of people they tell you, "Oh, don't question God." I see questions all throughout the
Oh
Bible.
yeah.
Everybody questioning
Oh,
because you're trying to get some clarity, you're trying to get understanding. Now, it is up to Him whether or not He's going to inform you of some things at
yeah.
the moment. But I'm going to question it because guess what? He has the
Yeah.
capacity to carry my question. Whether He's going to
Yeah.
answer it, that's on Him. He said, "You know what?
Yeah.
It's not time right now.
Yeah.
You'll get the understanding
And
later."
are we patient enough to wait? Because look, when I lost my son, God, why? Why is
Yeah.
this? What is this for? But when I went through the process, I understood at the end, going through the process and the things that he was building in me and molding in me and making out of me. Then he gave me the answer. Here's the purpose. Here's the reason.
Right.
If you'd have did what I told you to do 14 years ago, all of this stuff right here wouldn't have happened. But you were hard headed. You didn't listen. You didn't do this, and this. Now you had to go through all of this. Now you finally got it together. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Really, God. Because
But
look,
that,
Job
I think
even asked God some questions. Job
oh,
went through it all, lost
yeah,
all his, lost every last kid at one. I can't imagine
I mean,
losing every single kid at one time.
you losing all your kids, you lose your income, you know. Then you got your wife telling you to curse God. Then you got your friends bantering back and forth with you
Your
because if
friends
you read
being
the book of
trashy, they
Job,
just
it's
being
a,
messy.
if you read the book of Job, it's a whole conversation really between him and his friends. You know what I'm saying? Because I know when I found out my son transitioned and I'm going through all of that, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, other than what God, why my son? I'm gonna be real, very transparent. Why my
Very much.
was God, I trust you. God, I trust you. And one of my sister friends, and I'm not realizing that I'm really speaking the word, speaking the word, speaking the word, even though it's only part of the word.
Uh-huh.
I went to, it's in Job, and he was saying, I want to say it was Job 13:15. That's what I want to say it is. But it says, though he slay me, yet will
Yeah,
I.
well, I trust him.
People
Yeah.
stop, people stop at, yet will I trust him, and forget the rest of it. Forget the rest of it because he says in his word, though ye slay me, yet will I trust you and maintain my ways before you.
And
That's
still stay dedicated to you.
and that's what people they miss that last part. They
Yeah.
stop at yet will I trust you. They
Yeah.
miss maintain your ways before him.
Yeah.
So I had to try to strive to maintain my ways before him, even in the midst of pain, even in the midst of him, I feel as though he's slaying me because you took my
Yeah.
child, for your purpose, you took him. But then he turns around and says, you know what?
Still serve you.
He said, don't waste the pain.
Yeah.
He said, now you know your oil cost you something.
Yeah.
He said, now go and break the mold.
Yeah.
Talk
Now,
about.
see, I was on the other side of it. I felt like David when he was pleading for his first child with Bathsheba.
Mm-hmm,
And he was begging God, please save my child. And
mm-hmm,
they like, why are you still begging God? The baby is gone. And it's like, no, there has to be a reason for this. And I
mm-hmm,
was like, God, why would you bring up of all people David?
mm,
Because I had a male Bathsheba. Let me be real with y'all real quick. Let me be transparent real quick. Yes, I had a male Bathsheba. I had a conversation with his ex, and he was still with her at the time he got married to me. Let me be transparent.
mm, mm,
So who paid the price?
mm, mm, mm.
But I didn't know that well, put it like this. I knew, but I didn't know. Let me put it like that. The signs and the symbols were there. I chose to ignore them.
Yeah, turn a blind eye. Turn a blind.
I turned a blind eye. So
Yeah.
just like David went through hell and high water,
Mm-hmm,
afterward, lost the throne, son overthrew him, Absalom tried to kill him more than once.
mm-hmm.
I had to, because I made a choice, and sometimes we have to admit
Yeah.
when we mess up.
Yep. And
That sometimes the problem comes because we made a choice and a decision, and
yeah,
somebody else had to pay the price
yeah,
for that. And it ain't always us sometimes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's a very difficult position to be in. Um, However, there's always God already knew from the foundation of the earth.
Mhm.
Formed you in your mother's womb. He already knew what was going to transpire. So it comes as no shock or surprise to him, that your son transitioned, that my son transitioned. Because I know in one of the first episodes that I did on Breaking the Mold podcast was I spoke about the Mother Mary because a lot of
Mm.
people talk about the Mother Mary. And God told her that she was going to be the vessel,
Mhm.
the Messiah, the Savior of the world. But in the word, he never told her how it was going to happen.
Mm-mm.
How it was going to happen. And as he had to go through all the things that he had to go through with the crucifixion leading up to his crucifixion, and even his crucifixion, his mom, I'm not talking about somebody that's so close to God that they don't feel no pain. I'm talking about a mom
Mhm.
push him out in the manger
Yeah.
because the end was too full. She had to
Yeah.
sit there with the animals, and she had to care
Mhm.
for this child and rear him up to go through this, and you couldn't do nothing about it. That's the
Nothing.
position that I was in. That's the position you were in.
Yeah.
When your son transitioned, you were in a place, you were at the mercy
Yeah.
what God wanted to do in that situation. We could pray from our flesh and say, God save him, God do this,
Yeah.
decree that he will have life and all this stuff, but we forget your will because what is
Not mine. Look, let your will be done. If it is your will for this cup to pass from me, but not my will, but your
your
will
will will
be
be
done.
done.
That's
We
a hard
forget
pill to
that.
swallow.
We forget that. We forget that. And I got into a place now where I still have my moments of missing my son. However, I still trust God. I still trust God in all that his infinite ways of who he,
Yeah.
I call on all the names of who he is and wherever
Yeah.
he is. situation is, whether I need peace, whether I need him to raise up a standard, whether I
Yes.
need to come in and be my provider, be my healer, whatever, he's still all of that. But he told me, I'm going to turn your pain into a purpose, your wounds into a witness, and your tears into triumph. And I'm going to turn it all into that, because guess what? He's going to get the glory for it, not me.
Now the other day he gave me a mess for your message. Your mess has become somebody's message.
Mm-hmm.
Your downfall is somebody else's destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Your pain is somebody else's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, God, so what is my purpose? He said, not my will, not your will, but my will be.
Yeah.
I've learned how to pray that prayer. And when I tell you that thing hurts sometimes.
Oh, it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot, because what a lot of people do is they pray from the flesh and not from the spirit. They pray for their situation in that moment and not
Mm-hmm.
spirit. Because if we pray, that's why he tells us to pray in unknown tongues, where we pray the perfect will of God.
Mm-hmm.
Pray the perfect will of God, because now we're not allowing our emotions to get in the place of what Holy Spirit and God got going on, and be like, Holy Spirit coming, like, look, this is what he said, this is what he want you to do. I ain't ask no questions. I need you to go ahead and do it.
They have this reel going on Instagram and it is hilarious. It pops up at least once or twice a month for me. And the guy is sitting there and he's singing, I wanna be tried by fire, purified. And then he thinks about what he's saying. Like, yeah, you gotta be careful. Look, go back and read Psalms and read what David was saying and what he was praying. You have to be gots to be more careful.
Yep. You
Because
got
what
to be
you
more
tell
careful.
God, if God use me how you want to use me, oh, for real. Well, let me break you real quick. So
Mm-hmm.
you what you say, you are the potter, I am the clay. God will break you so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes his time. God, can you hurt? I know you're not rushing me to hurry up and finish you.
Mm-mm. No.
There's some things that's got to be put into you that you don't have. I need to melt you down again because when I started forming you, you got a lump in you. I got to melt you again to get that lump out.
Mm-hmm.
I got to fix you again.
Yep. But
Are
yeah,
you willing to accept that and say, God, even in the middle of the grief, what are you shaping me into? Because grief can make you or break you.
yeah, it can. And I always tell people, there's two directions that pain could take you in. It could take you away from God or take you to God. And it's up to you which way you choose. Because he
And
gave
I
us
see
free
so
will.
many people, pain has taken them away from God
Yeah.
for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they let it bring them back, they're at a place where they're completely broken.
Mm-hmm.
And God never wanted them in that place
No.
to begin with.
Mm-mm.
That's
But
not what I didn't do this so you can be the most broken person in the world before you come back to me. And
he's
now
such
because
a,
you're broken, you coming back.
but he's such a gentleman.
Isn't he?
He's such a gentleman. He's such a loving father. He said, just because you went astray, and that's just like the prodigal son. Just because
Yes.
you pray does not mean that my love has diminished for you. I'll be
No,
here when you decide you want to come
to
back.
come back.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know, like, I told my kids, I said, you know what, go out. I want you to go out there, experience the world, but just know that
Hmm.
you got a home. And that's the same way
Yeah.
you always have a home. When you decide you want to come back, come back.
The
Not
same way God is with that lost sheep, the parable of the lost sheep. He
yeah,
went to find, he left the 99
and
to
went
go find that one because that one needed to come home. But because the one was stuck in a place they couldn't get out of,
yeah,
he had to go pull them back up and
right.
take them home again.
But one thing I want to say though, if you go out there, you still gonna have to suffer the consequences.
Oh, yeah.
But when you get back into the
Yes.
fold, when you get back into the grace of God, of who He is and His infinite ways and His amazing faithfulness and His truthfulness and His word, you will know that you won't feel the whole brunt of the consequences. He got
Yeah.
He giving you a little cushion, but
Yeah.
he's gonna chastise you. You know what I'm
What
saying?
does Hebrew say? He chastises those that he loves. If you look, people, public service announcement. If you not getting your butt popped, you might want to check your
Let me
relationship
tell
with
you, God
God.
be telling me, he be like, look, Charlene, I need you to get your, I need you to rein in on your mouth, girl. I need you to do this, I need you to do that, get that attitude together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I could be a little hood, I could be a little street, whatever. But in the courtroom, I could be very professional and okay, yeah. I know how to code switch, but then still I want to be Holy Spirit filled.
Yes. I
Whatever
want God to come out first before me comes out.
exactly. Yes.
That's why you're supposed to pray without ceasing. If you pray without ceasing,
Mhm.
you're going to constantly be in that state of, okay, God, well, what do I say? Because
Yeah.
I know what Candy wants to say, but
Right.
that's not what you want me to. So, what do you want me to say? Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Oh
Mhm.
Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Let it come out so it gives you glory at all times. Because I can be the nicest, meanest person in the world. And, and I don't even have to cuss or nothing like that. But God make it be nicer more than
Mhm.
mean.
Let me tell you, I have enjoyed this conversation tonight.
Yes.
Amazing. We're gonna have to do it again, come back again soon. But one of the things is that what we've been talking about grief and everything that we've spoken about tonight, even if it did not sound like grief, it's still applicable. It's still
Yes.
applicable to your life because the whole thing is to bring you into the premise of who God is and His
Yes.
faithfulness, His love, his trustworthy word, His word that's never changing. Um, you can just bank on God that you could cash a check on Him. Now you
Look,
can cash a check
always.
on me, but you can cash a check on God of who He is. But Candy, I just want to ask you before we close out, just to give some words of encouragement to those that may be dealing with grief that have lost a baby, that never came home. Um, just encourage them or as they do they're on their journey to grief recovery.
Um, One of the first things is my heart goes out to you, and my heart is with you through that loss. I don't know exactly what you're feeling, but I know for me, it was a fight and it was a struggle. And it took me years to get over that. It took years to get past it. Take it one day at a time, 1 hour, one moment, 1 second at a time. Don't let anybody, and I do mean anybody, rush you through what you're feeling. It's okay to feel what you feel. When you're ready to talk, talk. If you have to listen to 50 different songs and listen to 50 different songs that say how you feel, just figure out how you need to express what you feel, your hurt and your pain. Don't ever let anybody lower your hurt or your pain or make it seem like it's not valid. That's the word I'm looking for. Don't ever let anybody make you feel like your grief is not valid. You are valid in your grief. You are valid in your pain. To the men out there, be that support. Be there for her. Learn how to express your pain. Arguing and fighting and fussing is not going to help. Let yourself grieve. Let yourself be there. Take it one moment, 1 second, 1 minute at a time. Take some time for yourself sometimes. It's okay to do that. It's okay to take some time in a room to yourself. Scream, yell, whatever you have to do. But don't close yourself off. If you're married, don't shut yourself off from her. You could hurt your relationship doing that. Grieve it together. Ladies, open your mind up to him just like he needs to open his heart to you. Don't make it one sided. Don't make it where you hurt so bad that you hurt him. Men, don't hurt so bad that you hurt her. Go through it together. See, when you're ready, seek counseling together. Rebuild together. And if you cannot be amicable about it, try not to tear each other down and hurt each other in the process. Love each other through it. And know that your baby is in God's arms. And he's holding you just like he's holding your child.
Amen. I want to thank you. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Let me tell y'all to get in contact with her, get with her on her website, get her book.
Yes.
You know, her book, My Forever Angel. I'm telling you, get that. She has a new book that came out called Pretty
Yes.
Wings. Let me
Yes.
dealing with suicide, and we know that when you're dealing with grief, that can take a whole different type of turn of emotions. I will
Yes.
Miss Candi Usher back on again, where we speak about suicide and dealing with grief, you know, how that connects all together. But I have a special announcement. I'm going to put Miss Candi on the backstage for a moment. But we're going, I have a special thing going on here where I have a back to school drive. I'm so sorry, y'all. This is. Let me see if I can move this to the side. It won't let me do it. Ain't that something? Let me see if I can do it to the side. Do it to the side. It still won't do it. But anyway, I have a back to school drive that's going on for my son's birthday that's coming up on July 27th. Um, you can um, you can actually you donate to it through my PayPal. My email address is charlenesmith0223 at gmail.com, or you can Zelle at charlenesmith 0223 at gmail.com. We are doing a back to school drive, the backpack drive. We're asking for donations of backpacks. We're asking for donations of school supplies, different things like that, because we want to give back to the community. This was one of the things that my one of the last things that my son did before his untimely transition. Um, that was one of the last community service events that he did. So this is what we're going to do with Breaking the Mold. We're going to sponsor a back to school drive that's coming up in July that I will be partnering up with some other nonprofits. And so if you can, by all means, donate. Once again, I'm gonna put the information back up there. It's my PayPal and Zelle. Both have the same email address, charlenesmith0223 at gmail.com. Put in the note that this is for the back to school drive, and we will make sure that we get all of the information that we need from you. Also, if you would like to be a guest on the next podcast, you can go to my link tree and you can actually fill out the form for the podcast guests, and we can get you on to our next podcast. We are here every second and fourth Monday of the month, and so we are looking for you. If you would like to be a part of my next coaching program, you can email me to at breaking the mode llc the digit one at gmail.com. We could go ahead and get you signed up for the next cohort that's coming up. But once again, I want to thank all of you for joining me tonight. I want to thank you for watching the replay. And I want to most of all thank my guest, Miss Minister Candi Usher, for joining us tonight. And make sure that you get her book. Go to her website. It's www.misscandygirl.com. Go and just snoop around and see what she got going on, y'all. You know, she got a lot of stuff going on. She is a phenomenal woman, and you want to make sure that you follow her. You can follow her on Instagram. You can follow her on Facebook, Candi Usher. Just look her up, and you will see her because her face, her beautiful face is everywhere. But once again, thank you for joining us this evening. We will be back next month on the second Monday of July with our next future guest for Breaking the Mold LLC Grief Recovery. And I want to thank you all for joining. Have an awesome, awesome night. Peace and blessings.